Cool. I want to thank you so much for taking the break, and I'd like to ask you what were some of your impressions of the video and some of the things that were presented there. Were there any surprises, any delights? What did you think of the video? So you said you like to take the test, okay? Just to kind of see where you fall out.
Yeah.
All right.
It was kind of a pride versus prejudice type of thing that I saw there.
Talk about that. You said there was pride versus prejudice.
Yeah. I think the white thought that was if they showed bad toward black that it was like all prejudice, but vice versa, there was more pride when the black,
Okay, so when black people recognize themselves,
right,
there was pride there, but when white people recognize themselves, which is the same exact thing that the black people were doing,
right,
they had a different experience,
exactly,
and felt badly about that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, because that was still going.
Okay, so pride versus prejudice, white guilt. Okay. So let's talk about that just for a little bit. The impact that those particular thoughts had on our everyday interactions. Do you think that if you think good about or you think bad about an individual, that has some kind of impact in your behavior towards, with, or around them?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay. All right.
That's usually not to do with race.
But it's typically not to do with race. Okay, so talk more about that.
If I don't know if I just, my previous interactions with a person that made me think they're annoying or, they have a certain thought process that I don't care for, then I'll deal with them in a certain way.
Okay, so you'll deal with them in a certain way given previous experience to them. Okay. Other folks.
I think it's also aware of because that's a real
Okay, you can make an effort to compensate. You can compensate. What else? What were other thoughts about the video? I'll take a step back and go back and talk about the video. Yes.
My first thought was you're kind of fooling yourself. It was when people were surprised by it. I guess you're part of the that's just too silly.
Yeah. You are, in a sense, procrastinating. You're telling yourself that I'm actually not doing what I am doing. Right? And I'm going to say this, and I'm not sure if you're going to hear other diversity trainers say this, and people get nervous when I start talking like this. But what I would like to offer to you that, first of all, if you self-identify as white, please raise your hand. Because this message is especially for you. If I am drowning and you cannot swim, are you any good to me? No. Okay.
You have a life preserver. You have an oar. Right?
It's just the two of us.
All right.
All right. Other resources, we're not going to think about other resources. You could have them or could not. But are you really good to me if you can't swim in terms of coming in and getting me out of that water? Probably not. Right. For white people, it does me no good if you don't like yourself. Now, and I know that it sounds weird because people are like, I like me. But I'm not just talking about you as an individual, but if you have that thing called white guilt. One of the things that I personally believe, and it's so funny because I've had conversations with Peggy McIntosh, and we've emailed back and forth. She has this thing that she stumbled upon. This was not her original thing to find or to look for, but she is noted for having this concept called white privilege. And so I personally don't necessarily believe in white privilege, just like I don't necessarily believe in procrastination. I think it's some other things that we can talk about in more detail later. But the negative effect that that's had has not necessarily been as beneficial as I'm sure that Peggy would have liked. Because what actually it does for white people is it tries to make white people aware of something that they weren't aware of, that they didn't know that they had until somebody pointed out that they had it, which creates this whole complex that one has, right? What I'd like to offer to my white brothers and sisters is that I want you to be proud of being white. Now, what I'm not talking about is having, these signs, but what I'm talking about is having a healthy pride for being who you are. None of us did anything to bring ourselves here. We all accepted an invitation, and I don't like to think about how the invitation came because it's disgusting, but we all accepted an invitation to be here. And so we're trying to be the best person we know to be. But what that means is that there is no place for guilt. Because what does guilt do to human motivation? Does it increase human motivation or does it decrease it? It decreases it, right? If I dream of a day that one day white people will be able to say in a mixed group or even in a group of their own that I'm proud of being white and it not be seen as something twisted, evil, and nasty. That's one of my dreams. Because one of the things that starts to happen, and we saw it in the video, is that people feel bad about themselves, and we actually end up overcompensating for something that we had nothing to do with. Another commentary that I'd like to make about that particular video, and I'd like to use that because it stirs thought and it stirs ways of thinking, but I also want us to be really critical in our thinking about how we evolved to be who we are. Right? Before there were buildings, and before we were in big groups, we were in very small groups, and we were out in savannas, and we're trying to make our way, either picking berries or hunting rabbits or whatever. And there were lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! That preyed on our species. And so when is the optimum time for a predator to attack? And even now, people are going deer hunting. They're not going at noon. When do they go deer hunting? Early morning, when it is dark. Right? So what do you think our ancestors said about the nighttime? Or what do you think they thought about the nighttime? Because they were prey and not predators at this point. How did they look at the night? It's dangerous. It's scary. How do you think they thought about the day? Safe. Not scary. I can venture out. Right? So part of our evolution has created this dichotomy in our head about what dark means and what light means. And I'm not just making this up, right? Because we talk about it in terms of food, right? What is the dark, rich chocolate with cream filling called? Devil's food cake. What's the light, fluffy, white, airy food called? Angel's food cake, right? When you die, you are buried in what